All right, let's just get right to it. If your business is using AI, and let's be real, who isn't these days, then you need to hear this. Your API layer has quietly become your single biggest attack surface. But don't worry, the good news is, today we're going to break down exactly how you can secure this critical piece of your infrastructure.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll talk about why this is a whole new security checkpoint. Then, we'll really dig into what makes AI APIs so different from what you're used to. From there, we'll map out the 3 big threat categories you need to watch out for, lay out a 5-layer defense strategy, and I'll make sure you walk away with one clear, actionable step you can take right now. Sound good? Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. To really wrap our heads around why securing AI needs a totally new mindset, let's kick things off with a pretty powerful analogy.
You know, what I love about this analogy is how perfectly it captures the two-sided nature of this problem. Think about it. Your regular passengers, they're kind of like your standard API traffic. Predictable, routine, you know what to expect. But the diplomats, with those locked briefcases, well, that's your AI traffic. It's totally unpredictable, it's carrying super sensitive data, and it needs a completely different, specialized kind of screening. You just can't use the same old metal detectors for both. And really, that is the heart of the matter. AI API security isn't just about patching the vulnerabilities we already know. You are literally fighting a war on 2 fronts. You've got all the traditional attacks we're used to, plus this whole new class of AI-specific threats that, frankly, your existing tools were never, ever designed to see, let alone stop.
Which brings us perfectly to our next point. Let's really dig into why these AI APIs are so fundamentally different from the traditional REST APIs that your entire security stack was built to handle.
This right here, this analogy just nails the security gap. Think about it. Your traditional API gateway, it's awesome at securing the pipe, the network connection, the server, the access tokens. But it is completely blind to the water that's flowing through it. It has no idea what's actually in the prompts and responses. And it definitely doesn't understand the valve, the logic of the AI model itself. And that blindness is exactly where all the new risks are hiding.
So this leads to a really critical question you need to be asking your team probably today. Are your security tools blind? I mean, are they actually blind to the content and the context of your AI traffic? Because if they only see the pipe, you've got a massive, unmonitored risk sitting right in the middle of your most innovative applications.
Let's just put them side by side for a second. Over here, you've got your good old traditional REST APIs. They're predictable, right? They have defined schemas, you know what you're going to get back. Then, you've got AI APIs, which are pretty much the polar opposite. The inputs are open-ended. The outputs can be totally unpredictable. And here's the kicker. The cost for a single request can swing wildly. And that makes them a huge target for abuse.
All right, so we get the why now. We understand why this is a problem. So let's talk about the what. Let's actually map out this new attack surface by breaking down the threats into 3 major categories.
Okay, first up, you still got the classics. We're talking about the stuff from the OWASP API top 10, like broken authentication. And if you're in security, you know OWASP is the gold standard here. Second, you have the new AI-specific stuff, which, no surprise, OWASP now has a whole new LLM top 10 for. This is where you find things like prompt injection. And third, and this one's new for a lot of folks, is a category all about resource abuse and financial impact. Things like denial of wallet attacks. You're fighting on all 3 of these fronts at the same time.
And let me be clear, that financial threat is no joke. Because these AI APIs are priced per token, not per request, a really simple attack can have an absolutely massive financial impact. We've seen it happen. An attacker gets a hold of one of your API keys, spends maybe $10 of their own effort, and in just a few hours, they've stuck you with a $10,000 bill. It's that fast.
So let's just be brutally honest here. Can your traditional tools handle these new threats? I mean, look at this. The answer is a pretty deafening no. For things like prompt injection or trying to leak data through the output, your standard WAF or API gateway is just blind. It sees a perfectly well-formed, valid request and just waves it through, saying, sure, come on in, while having zero clue that something malicious is actually happening inside that request.
Okay, that's enough doom and gloom. We've talked a lot about the problems. Let's shift gears and talk about solutions. It's time to build a practical, defense-in-depth strategy, a blueprint for what we can call AI-aware security.
So here's the strategy. It's a 5-layer model. And by the way, this lines up really well with frameworks like the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. The best way to think about it is like a series of checkpoints, or layers of an onion. Each layer is there to catch something the one before it might have missed. We start with the basics, authentication. Then we validate the input, control the resources, check the output, and wrap it all in continuous monitoring.
Okay, let's zoom in on layer 3, because honestly, this is a total game changer. Traditional rate limiting, the kind that just counts requests per minute, is basically obsolete when it comes to AI. It just doesn't work. You have to implement token-aware limits. That means you're controlling the actual volume of data being processed. It means setting hard cost caps for each API key and creating different tiers for different kinds of users. This right here is your #1 defense against those crazy financial abuse attacks.
And then we get to layer 5, monitoring. This is where your security team and your finance team basically become best friends. You need to be tracking costs in real time down to the individual user or API key. You're hunting for anomalies, things like a sudden flood of similar but not quite identical queries. That's a huge red flag for model extraction. And here's the crucial part. You need to set up alerts for any big spending spikes. And, this is key, have an automated response ready to go. Automatically throttle or even suspend a key the second something looks wrong.
Okay, I know we've covered a ton of ground here, and it might feel like a lot. So the big question is, where on earth do you start? Let's cut through the noise and focus on the single most important thing you can do, the one action you can take, like this week, to immediately slash your AI security risk.
This is it. Seriously, if you remember only one thing from our entire conversation today, make it this. Token-based rate limiting is completely non-negotiable. It's not a nice to have, it's your starting line. Forget everything else for a second and just focus on this. It's the one thing that directly tackles those huge financial and resource abuse threats head-on.
And you know what the best part is? You don't have to boil the ocean here. You can get a huge win. We're talking mitigating the vast majority of your risk by just focusing on 3 foundational controls: setting token budgets, putting in some basic prompt guards, and filtering the output. Suddenly, this huge, complex problem feels a whole lot more manageable, doesn't it?
All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. Number 1, you're facing a dual threat, the old stuff and the new AI-specific attacks. Number 2, your old tools are blind to what's happening in your prompts and responses. 3, that 5-layer defense architecture is your new best friend. Use it as your blueprint. 4, token-based rate limiting is your most critical control, period. And 5, the big one, you have to start thinking of cost monitoring as security monitoring.
And that leaves us with one final and, I think, really important question for you to take back to your organization. I want you to go ask your team this simple question. Right now, today, is our cost monitoring just a line item for the finance department, or is it a core part of our security strategy? Because really, the answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about how ready you are for this new era of AI security.